Hello and welcome to the Closer's Playbook, a podcast about selling your services as a freelancer. I'm Pete Beber, here with my co-host Tyler Poole.
How you doing today, bud?
Good, Tyler.
Good.
We just kind of like roll right into this. So the last episode we did, about proposals. If you haven't checked it out, and you're wondering about proposals, take a listen or a watch to our last episode. We touched very, very briefly on follow-up, right? So in that episode, we talked about giving our proposal and then kind of what happens from there, or how should we send it over, or things like that. And follow-up is going to be really important. I guess, do you have any thoughts on follow-up, or have you ever had any issues with follow-ups in your freelance business?
Well, the first thing I'll say is, you just said follow up after your proposal, and follow up should be done. Anytime you talk to a customer, any response after that is following up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Just to clarify that point, follow up. Generally speaking, you're going to talk to a customer, I don't know, half a dozen times, a dozen times.
As many times as is needed, right?
Right. Yeah. Before you make a sale. And so every single one of those is follow up.
Yeah.
So, this is actually quite a big topic because there are a ton of different types of follow up, from not hearing to a customer to, getting back with your proposal to answering any questions they have.
Yeah, so let's kind of walk through that a little bit. Let's take a typical scenario that you might have.
Yeah.
So let's start with the first type of follow-up that you might need. So what would be kind of how you start? You typically start with a call, right? Or like a Zoom meeting or something like that. And then in that, like if you go back and listen to some of our other conversations, we're going to do discovery.
Yep.
So you first conversation, you've done some discovery, and they're going to probably want a proposal of some type, pricing, right? And you're going to, as far as like getting a proposal to them, one of the things that we touched on is, okay, before you're done with that meeting, say, all right, I will be done. They might even ask for your pricing on the call. Say, hey, you know what? I need to just go back to my notes. I need to check, do a little bit more due diligence here to make sure that I give you a proposal that's going to solve your business need. So I'm going to need, let's say it's Tuesday. How is Friday at 1:00? Are you open then so we could review the proposal?
Yep.
So that's one way.
That is one way. Another way, or even something that you may need to, almost certainly will run into is, let's say we've done that discovery call. We've set the proposal meeting for a couple days later, whatever it is. And you realize you didn't get a key piece of information, or you want to clarify something.
Yeah.
Send them a quick email and say, just wanted to follow up. Just wanted to clarify this point, blah, 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 whatever that is. It lets you know or it lets potential clients know that you are detail oriented, that you're trying to cross your T's and dot your I's. I like quick emails. I send them. I usually will send 3 or 4 emails before I'll send a proposal.
Yeah, and think about your emails that you send, right? How are people consuming emails today? Yeah, some might be sitting in front of a desk, but how many of us are checking emails on our phone? So being concise is pretty critical. Be right to the point. Make it so they don't have to think, right?
And something I really like to that point is send sentences, not paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
I put a space, a return, in between every single one of my sentences. So it's very scannable on a cell phone.
Bullet points.
Right. Don't send paragraphs.
Yeah,
because
you want it short. You want one piece of information.
I don't run a big business. I run a pretty small business. It's just me. And if you send me a paragraph, it will not get read for a month.
So, not your customer, though.
Well,
no.
No, just kidding.
But yeah, if somebody's advertising to you, if somebody's trying to get your business or something like that, it's like, hey, this is a lot. I have other stuff to do. But also be concise in what you're asking for. If you've got multiple questions, you might say.
Actually, let's go back to that, because think about. Both of us are subscribed to Ramit Sethi's newsletter, or at least have been in the past. Mm-hmm. I am currently. He sends these books of emails. Like they're probably on average 3 to 5 minutes of a read, but they're sentences. They're, bang, bang, bang. And so you can kind of scan them pretty quick, and it doesn't, I start reading one and I don't realize that it's been 2 or 3 minutes until I get to the end, and I'm like, oh, whoa, that was actually really long. But
yeah. Also, you're consuming that in
work.
a different way,
100%.
right? So if I am going back and forth on a proposal, I want the person I'm working with to not be like wasting my time with a bunch of filler.
Yeah, sorry, let me clarify. Not that I'm telling you to send gigantic long emails.
More of a newsletter, right?
More of just the style works, and you can apply, just because the industry is different, the style works, and it can be applied to what you're doing.
Yeah, he's clear with his messaging. It's easy to read.
Yep.
Definitely from that standpoint, that's what we want, right? And if you have multiple questions you need answered after that discovery call, I might, instead of sending an email asking a bunch of those questions, be like, hey, as I was building the proposal, I realized I have just a few more questions. So what I'd like to do on our call that we've already scheduled is just go through some of those questions with you. And then maybe you are prepared for different types of answers to plug into your proposal on that call.
Okay.
So you could say, okay, thank you for clarifying that. That means I'm going to change this way, or I'm going to keep it like this, right? So that way you're not wasting their time. And if you just have like one thing or two things, it's great if you can send an email and just say, hey, need this piece of information to finalize the proposal. Question. Right? And that's it. And make it so that it's easy for them to respond back. I don't have to think about a whole bunch of things, because to your point, if you've got a paragraph or a novel in your inbox, or you've got something I can take action on in 30 seconds, I'm going to get that thing off my to-do list and out of my inbox and just respond. So you want to make it really easy for them to respond. So think about how you would want to get something like that. Sort of to that point, if let's say they come back and say, hey, something came up, I can't meet on Friday, or on Friday at 1:00. Don't give them your whole schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Just say, hey, that's what, maybe they've given you an option. Like, hey, I can't meet at 1. Can you meet at 2? You can meet at 2. Just whatever.
Sure. Get it done.
No, but how's Monday at 10 a.m.? Don't be like, here's 10 different options for you to look through, because that takes mental energy for them to then go, versus, am I free Monday at 10 a.m.? I've had much better responses, and you'd be surprised how many times people are free at the time that you throw out there. Yes, there are a number of times where people have said, I'm not, but then they throw one out.
Right.
And so it usually at the most is like two to three emails.
Right.
But I would say 2/3 to 3/4 of the time, they're saying yes on my first one.
And usually I'll do something similar, but I'll usually throw out 2 time slots, and I try and do a morning and an afternoon. So I'll be like, are you available or I have empty spots on my calendar Monday at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And then a lot of times they'll get back to me, and almost, I would say 85% of the time, I will get one of those 2 time slots. Yeah. And it's, it's nice because it, like you said, it eliminates the thought process from them.
Yeah.
They are or they aren't.
And I would max it at 2, because the other thing that you're communicating to isn't that you're available anytime. Right. You're working on projects. Right. You probably have other sales calls that you have to make. You're busy as well. So you don't, part of why I like sending 1 time, and I think 2 is fine. But part of why I like sending 1 time is it doesn't say, look at how available I am for you. You can bug me anytime you want, because it's setting the stage for, if they do decide to work with you and they're like, this guy's always open, right? This woman's always available. No. No, it's not the case, right? I'm doing some things to, moving some things around for you right now as we're in this stage potentially.
Yeah, it dives into the whole the training your clients topic, where train the type of client you want, and if you tell them, oh yeah, just sometime next week or whatever, you just make it sound like you're always available to them. And in the past, I've had people email me 24/7. In hindsight, probably a little bit because that's just who they were, but also because I had not set boundaries like that in the past.
Kind of on that subject of being, sort of blown up 24/7. If you go back and if you've read like 4-Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss, right? Productivity, setting aside times for you to respond to emails in your day. Maybe it's once a day, maybe it's twice a day, maybe at times when you know that you're not in your most creative, depending on your work, right?
Sure.
You know what? I know that like right around 11 o'clock, my creativity or my looking at spreadsheets and any of that tanks. At 11 o'clock, I'm going to spend 45 minutes to check my email.
You need a Snickers bar.
Right. And then maybe you check at 3 o'clock in the afternoon before the day is over. And then now, so a couple things I've learned is when there's problems, many times 30 minutes past or a couple hours and they're solved.
Right.
The other thing is it sets that expectation of like, okay, I usually hear from Tyler by noon or by 4. Right. So now they know like, oh, he's going to respond. I don't need to like blow him up.
Right.
And then that allows you to focus on your creative work when you're creative.
Yeah.
Or however you define your business
and setting it up that way too. It like if you have for a long time I had my email pulled up on one screen and my work on the other screen. Yeah. And so a lot of times every time I saw a new email, I would get distracted and my head would go this way, and then whatever actual work I was doing would be sidetracked. And there was a study, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but every time you switch task, it was on multitasking, and every time you switch task, it takes your brain like 4 seconds to recalibrate or whatever. And so every time you look over and see your email, you lose a little bit of time. So
do that 100 times.
Right. Do this consistently throughout the day, and all of a sudden you're switching back and forth, and you do lose a huge amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I have alerts turned off for Outlook.
There you go.
Because that shiny object pops up. It's like, oh, maybe I could just tackle that and then I can feel productive. But yeah, so part of following up, also you're going to have customers going to be like, hey, I'm having this problem, or hey, I have this question. Do you expect your clients to respond to you the moment that you send an email?
Yes.
But do they?
No.
So you might want to change your expectations.
Right.
But yeah, because they're working as well. And you might be working on their project at the time they're emailing you. Do they want you to be distracted by an email that maybe doesn't matter for the immediate, right? The amount of times there's an actual emergency is pretty few and far between.
And you're not going to lose a sale. Something that I used to think was that, man, if I don't get right back to these people, if I don't show these people that their business is important to me, I'm going to lose this sale. And that's just not the case. People know they've got 10 other projects going on probably. Yeah. If you're talking to a business owner, you know how many different hats that person is.
There's a reason they're emailing you at 11 o'clock at night, because they had a million things to do that day. And that was the time they got to your thing.
Exactly. So by establishing the fact that you also are a business owner and you are also busy, even if you're not the business owner, if you're still busy, you've still got other clients.
You're working with someone who has a job.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a little bit of a sidetrack, but I think it's useful because follow up is in how you respond to things.
I think it applies to a lot, not only sales but productivity and just the whole gamut.
Yeah, and so kind of going back to follow up, let's say customer hasn't responded to you. Mm-hmm. You're like, this guy's not.
How many days?
Whatever you feel is if it's been a week.
That's really general. So that's why I wanted to.
Did you have let's say you've talked to this customer and part of your discovery said, when did you want to kick this project off? Right. So now you have a timeline to start. Yeah. Okay. If you're nearing that timeline where it's like, hey, I need to know. Mm-hmm. I really like. Mentioned before, Chris Voss. Mm-hmm. No, you could send something along the lines of like the no-oriented questions.
Sure.
What he says is people default to no. It's hard. Yes is a commitment. No feels like you're not making a commitment. I don't know. That's a psychology thing. I'm not, but it feels like it works. He's had it work in his line. And so you might say something like, would you be against a call to review proposal on Tuesday, or something along those lines? Would you be against? Right. Hey, have you decided to not move forward with this project?
Right. And you're just trying to get, in this situation, a no is fine. A no is better than a maybe.
In this situation, a no is moving things forward. Right. If they say, yes, we've actually, we had to put this project off, perfect. Would it be unreasonable for me to reach out in 30 days to see where you're at? No, go ahead and reach out in 30 days. Or, hey, it's probably going to be 6 months. Cool. I'll circle back with you in 5. Yep. Put it on your calendar, right? So you actually do a follow-up because they're an interested customer. They've just had priorities shift. That happens a lot. Yeah. So you just want to get to, is this project going to move forward or not? Right. And usually you can even put it in the subject line of the email and nothing in the body. Have you moved on?
Have you had success with that?
Yeah, I don't use it a ton, but okay. I know other people who've had success with it because
I've never tried that. That's interesting.
It's concise. They can see it in their email, right? And it's very simple.
Right. There's no questions about what that email is about.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
So you could do something like that, to move things forward. Hey, is everything okay? I've done that one. Yeah. Is everything okay? Are you okay? Right. That I've gotten good responses on. Hey, I'm really sorry for not following up. Things got really crazy. Can we talk in 2 weeks? Sure. How is the 21st at 2 p.m.?
There you go. And then book that. Perfect.
And I've used that plenty of times. Okay.
Cool.
I'll give you an example. I had one where I had a really good initial conversation with this woman. So I'm from Chicagoland originally. I'm a White Sox fan. She's from Southern Illinois and is a Cardinals fan. And so we were joking that we have a common enemy in the Cubs, rivalries. Right. And so we joked around about that. And, we had a lot of similarities, knew a lot of the same places. Even I think we had a person in common that we didn't realize, an acquaintance for one of us, a friend of another. And she was like, I'm really excited about this. You seem like you really know what you're doing. And I feel like you can help us out. Let's talk again, whatever. Or I need to bring somebody else in. So I couldn't she's like, I don't have their calendar handy. So I got to find out when they're free. So I hate when that happens because now I don't have another meeting booked. Right. So a week goes by. And I'll ask, okay, if I haven't heard from you by Thursday, would it be okay for me to reach out? Or would you be against me reaching out Thursday if I haven't heard from you? Usually yeah, because they have other stuff going on. So I reached out on Thursday. Hey, you said if I haven't heard from you, shoot you a reminder. This is the reminder. Let's get this scheduled. Yeah. Crickets. Okay. A couple more days. Now Monday shows up and, Friday, it's Monday afternoon. Hey, is this a no-go? Mm-hmm. Right? Did you change your mind? Nothing. Next one, subject to the email, are you okay? That was it. And then my email signature. She replied right back. I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm okay. It just got crazy. Yeah. So, I did a couple of follow-ups that I thought, all right, let me see if I can garner a reaction from this. And then she just told me hey, we had some major things come up. It's going to probably be several months before we're able to revisit. Yep. Perfect. Let me just put a reminder on my calendar to reach out to you at this. Would this be too far out? No, that's a good time to follow up. I think that project will be wrapping up. Perfect. We can put something on the calendar now, right? That's my aim. Or at the least, I'll put something on my calendar to reach back out and say, hey, and just put a note. We talked This other project was supposed to be wrapping up. She said to reach back out. That time comes up. I go, hey, I know you said this project was going to be wrapping up. Is now a bad time to get back together to talk about it?
No question.
A no. And I got a yes. Yes, it's taking longer than we expected. So this thing has pushed out. But I also haven't been wasting a whole bunch of time wondering, trying to follow up. I'm getting timelines in my follow-up.
And I actually like to, this is another thing that I'll customize to the client. You know, if I only hear from this person once a day or, you know, every other day, I have a client right now that it took me, I think, 2 months to close this person just because he only replied to me every like 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. So at one point, you know, he hadn't sent me anything. I think it was after we'd talked about the proposal. We hadn't talked for a week. And I'm like, the 3 days I wasn't surprised about. You know, 4 days I think hit the weekend, so 5 days. It wasn't until the 6th day or 7th day, one of the two, either the Monday or Tuesday, where I decided, okay, it's been a while. I'm going to follow back. And I didn't use a no question. I don't remember what I said, but it depends. You know, if you've got a client or a potential client that you're talking to every single day and it goes 3 days, maybe you need to send an email. But if you're not hearing from that client that normally anyway, the gentleman I'm talking about, it's the business I'm working on is actually a side project from his. So it's not his main focus day to day. If you're not hearing from people on a day-to-day basis, maybe you can extend that period before you hit that follow-up a little bit.
Yeah. And we're talking a lot about email, but you can also pick up the phone.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you pick up the phone, you know, you have a voicemail. I don't know. Not everybody checks their voicemail anymore. Follow it up with an email. Hey, just try giving you a call. Want to see, is everything okay? Right. Are you okay? I like the are you okay? Because it's like, I actually had somebody say, like, get back to me like a week later. They're like, hey, I'm so sorry I had COVID. I'm like, hey, right. It sounds like you're okay now. Like, yeah. I'm like, I'm sorry to hear that. Right. But like, you know,
especially in this day and age, that is a legitimate, like,
I've had multiple meetings get rescheduled because people who needed to be in the meeting were out because of COVID or because of relative, family
Same
member
here.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's something that it had come all of a sudden it started coming up more and more. And I think the are you okay question shows a little bit of empathy. I think, hey, did you get hit by a bus? Like, you've gone radio silent. I thought things were going well. Like, you know, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Most of the time it's just priorities, but sometimes you have somebody who's been like sick or, I went on vacation, I forgot to tell you.
You don't want to know answer to that one.
Right. You don't want to know.
That is, just to clarify, that is not a no question.
Right. It's just meant to kind of be like, hey, I thought we had something going here. We were moving towards, you know, a direction where we were potentially going to work together, and then you sort of dropped off. People, so far, I've been doing it for a while. People have responded pretty well. I don't use it too often, but it's a good way to follow up if somebody's just gone totally radio silent.
And it's also something that, you know, your competitors probably aren't doing. It's not a normal sales thing by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. So, you know, especially after a qualifying call, after a discovery call, it kind of shows that you actually have some empathy and you care. Yeah. And it's kind of I don't use it, but I may start.
Well, and one thing we haven't really talked about before, but if there are multiple stakeholders in a project, I want to get all of them involved.
Define stakeholders real quick.
Somebody who has either influence on the decision of who they're going to choose for the project, or who will be engaged with you. Maybe there will be a project manager on the customer end.
So somebody decision makers.
Well, decision makers is best, but other people involved in the project. If you've had conversations with them, they've been on calls, now your main point of contact hasn't responded to anything, you could send is so-and-so okay? Right. Is Jill okay?
There you go. That's
I haven't heard back from Jill. I'm a little concerned that maybe something's wrong. Concise, right? Hey, haven't heard back from Jill. Is she okay? and then they can come in potentially and give you some data.
Right.
Be like, hey, actually, I had this happen. She's going to be out for 2 weeks. Well, it's during COVID. Right. I had a suspicion
right.
that that's what it was. And sure, like, but you know what? We're still interested, but she's critical for moving things forward. So we're going to wait till she's back.
I've actually had a situation where the person that I had talked to the most about a project ended up getting let go in the middle of our conversation. And luckily I had talked to her boss at the time. And so she became my main point of contact. But things happen. Businesses change. You know, people get sick.
People get new jobs.
Right.
Well, on that, so meeting with the person's boss, like a lot of times I'm going up to like an executive, like I want an executive sponsor in the type of work that I do. Somebody who's going to be like, hey, we're going to sign off. Like, yes, I am going to sign off on this. So that way I know that's the ultimate decision maker.
Right.
They're the ones who are going to tell the rest of the company basically like, we're moving forward with this. They're not going to be in all the meetings. They're not going to be doing the work, but they're going, this is a good idea. We're going to move forward with it. And they're going to sponsor your project essentially. Keep them engaged. Mm-hmm. Just, hey, just want to let you know, no need to respond. You know, Jim and I talked about these topics. We have a meeting scheduled. Keeping you in the loop. Just
keeping them in the loop.
They'll probably never respond, but then that way, if Jim falls off the map, you go, hey, now hey, we've worked together. I've kept you in the loop. I'm not sure. Maybe priorities shifted. I hope Jim's okay, but I haven't heard from him, and it seemed. Are you no longer pursuing this project? And then
yes or no.
Yeah, and you might have hesitation going to somebody's boss, but you've been keeping them in the loop this whole time. Right. So continue to keep them in the loop.
I was going to say
things seem to have stalled out.
It's only weird if you haven't been keeping them in the loop.
Right.
If you haven't been keeping them in the loop, all of a sudden they're like, why am I hearing from this person?
Yeah.
But if throughout the process they've gotten updates, then they're like, oh, this is just normal.
Right. So a business owner or a senior manager, director, executive, don't expect them to respond to that, but just keep them in the loop. Very concise, bullets, 1 or 2 sentences, so that they can just scan it, be like, cool, things are moving forward, and they're comfortable with how things are. Or they'll jump in and be like, hey, so-and-so's no longer on the project. We're backfilling.
Yep.
Hang tight.
Yep. Cool.
So do you feel like that covered follow-ups?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that this is a wide-ranging topic. There's tons of different types of follow-ups, and each one's going to be slightly different. Yeah. But I do think we covered a lot of good, like ground rules, and gave a couple tips, like a couple of the things you've talked about I've never heard.
Okay.
And this is a topic that we've talked about before. So, like the "How are you?" questions. That's
right. Are you okay? Yeah. So I guess to summarize, it would be concise. Mm-hmm. If you can ask a no-oriented question, a question to get a no that is confirming something that you need. So are you okay? We want to be yes.
Right.
Have you decided to move in a different direction?
Right. Or do you want to continue talking about this project?
Are you no longer interested in this project? Is this project no longer a priority? No oriented questions like no, it's still a priority, or yes, actually. But those are concise, simple questions. Right. And any chance you get when you're on a call with somebody, or if you're emailing to schedule an appointment, if you're on a call, my goal at the end of the call is if it needs another meeting,
to schedule it prior to getting off the phone.
Right, schedule it and just give them 1, maybe 2, at the most, options as far as your availability. Are you available Monday at 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. At the most, right?
Yep.
Make it simple for them to make a decision.
Yep. Perfect.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks for joining us.
Follow us on YouTube and all your podcast platforms, and we'll talk to you next week.